You know, I've been wanting to talk about this, and since we're about 3 weeks in, I figured I'd just give my thoughts on, the fact that it feels kind of weird, kind of strange that when you look at, certain schools, all part of this realignment and such over the past year, it feels kind of strange, doesn't it? Like when you're watching a college football game with UCLA and USC and Oregon and Washington, that on the field, instead of seeing Pac-12 logo, you see the Big Ten. And on the patches on the uniforms, the jerseys, instead of seeing Pac-12, you see Big Ten. And it feels kind of weird, kind of like it just it just doesn't feel right. It feels like something is just too off. That you know someone needs to basically someone needs to basically um, get in contact with the schools, get in contact with the NCAA and say, look, we get why they're doing this. They want more exposure, but it, it's just not right. It's basically like trying to put a square peg into a round hole. You know what I'm saying? But and that's the feeling that I and I'm sure others get from this. And it's not just them either. You look at you know you look at Cal and Stanford, Northern California school teams. One from Berkeley, one from Berkeley, one from Palo Alto, and they are part of the Atlantic Coast Conference now. And it's strange to see the ACC logo on the field of Cal, on the field of Stanford, to see the ACC patches on their jerseys, and it's just mind-boggling. I mean, again, I get the idea that they're doing it because they want exposure. I understand that, but it feels like you're trying to put a triangle peg into a rectangular hole, and it just does not fit. It just feels like something is not right. And then if that's not it, you take a look at, Arizona State, you know, Colorado and Utah. Now, Colorado and Utah could be the exception because Colorado used to be part of the Big 12 before going to the Pac-12, and now they're back. So that's not an issue. Everybody, I'm sure, that has seen them in the Pac-12 has always still associated them as a Big 12 school in the wrong conference, and now it's back in the right conference. In Utah's the kind of school that's right in the middle that can fit anywhere. They could fit, in any conference from Pac-12, Big 10 to, Big 12, you name it. And obviously they decided they want to up their game and go Big 12. And that's what we're seeing. That is what we're seeing right now. And if that's not enough, that's not enough for strangeness. You have Arizona and Arizona State that have basically said they want to jump ship and become part of the Big 12, and they land back in that scenario of you look at them and you say to yourself, it just doesn't feel right. Like you can make more of an exception for them, or a little bit of an exception, a little bit more, I should say, of an exception for them. Over Cal and Stanford and UCLA and USC and Washington and Oregon bolting for the conferences they're in. But still, you being a longtime fan of Arizona Wildcats and Arizona State Sun Devils, and you've been so accustomed, so used to seeing, the Pac-12 logo on the turf, on the football field, the Pac-12 logo on the basketball court, and now all of a sudden you're seeing Big 12 there. All of a sudden you're seeing Big 12 patched onto the jerseys for all the sports teams. And even though it does tell you that this is they're now part of this conference going forward, it just feels like, again, you're trying to put a horizontal peg in a vertical hole, and it just doesn't feel right. It feels like you're trying to force something, that shouldn't be. Now, I know realignment is the name of the game lately in college sports. I get that. But sometimes realignment doesn't just, it doesn't mean overall you go from one conference to another. There are some schools, believe it or not, that will realign to other conferences for a few sports, but for other sports, they'll go to another conference. They're aligned with that one. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But, but again, it's just one of those situations to where you understand the reasoning, but it still feels very strange. It still feels very, very off. Like it's not meant to be. It shouldn't be. But yet, here we are. Here we are. And now, you've got discussions, confirmation that you got 3 Mountain West schools going to the Big 12. And, their geography, according to many, fits right in perfectly with the Big 12. Not Big 12, but Pac-12, I should say. That, their geography fits in well with the Pac-12, that being Fresno State, San Diego State, Colorado State, and Boise State. That their geographic regions fit in well with it. But now you also have discussions of Memphis, a team that honestly should be either Big 12, not Pac-12, but Big 12 bound, if not SEC bound, or even ACC bound, but not Pac-12 bound, but yet they are on the verge of making that happen. And I know some people might say, well, look at UCF, Central Florida. They're in the Big 12, that don't make sense. West Virginia's in the Big 12, that don't make sense. And I get that. And I get that, I understand that, but here's the thing, with West Virginia, yeah, they should be more ACC than anything. I mean, they used to be part of the now defunct Big East, as far as, football is concerned. Big East is still a conference, it's just more related to basketball and baseball. I mean, I get that, but, I get people saying they should be more ACC or SEC, affiliated, or even Big Ten affiliated, and that's obviously true. It's obviously true, but when you get down to it, they've been in the Big 12 since the Big East, as far as football is concerned, folded, to the point that they are now a mainstay. That pretty much they have found a way to fit that uneven peg into that odd-shaped hole and make it work. So they've gotten to the point now to where they are essentially a team, as football-wise, that football and basketball-wise, I should say, all sports-wise, I should say, that have felt like they've always been there since the beginning, even though they haven't. Central Florida, I know, is still kind of a big thing. That's still a big thing to some, because they're more used to seeing them, in Conference USA or the AAC. And they would be more used to them being in the ACC or this SEC. And that's understandable, because regionally and geographically, they fit in that category. But it's all about the invite. It's all about the fact of, hey, you want exposure? Here, we can give you that exposure. We can give you that opportunity to be seen by millions and millions of other viewers across the country. You just got to jump over and join us. And they took that invitation, and they're trying to run with it. They're trying to run with it. And contractually, they're stuck with this conference until that contract expires or opens up the door for them to look into other conferences. And who's to say some of these teams that are in the Big 12 or in the Big 12, in the ACC, in the SEC, in the Big 10, who's to say eventually that when their contracts come up, they won't decide, hey, we're just going to go back to where we were before and try and hopefully, hopefully make things, right. Hopefully things are better. Who's to say that, a lot of the Pac-12 teams that left won't come back? Who's to say the Big 12 teams that left won't come back, and so on. But right now, even though that possibility is way off into the future, maybe a decade or two in the future, right now, people like myself still find it kind of odd and kind of strange that what we're dealing with is a realignment that geographically, when you look at some of the schools and the conferences they're now part of, you look at the patches and the logos representing those conferences, it's like something's not right here. It's like something is not like the others, if you catch my drift. But we'll have to see. But let me know what your thoughts are. Do you find it kind of strange, being a sports fan in general, that you have Cal and Stanford, two Northern California schools, Bay Area schools, part of the Atlantic Coast Conference, when they're pretty much, according to some people, just mere miles away from the Pacific Ocean? You know, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on, you know, Oregon and Washington and, you know, UCLA and USC joining the Big Ten? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about Arizona and Arizona State jumping to the Big 12? Oregon, or, you know, Colorado and Utah going to the Big 12. What are your thoughts on that? You know, how do you feel about this in general? How do you feel about, you know, Boise State, San Diego State, Colorado State, you know, I think, and Boise State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Colorado State, jumping over to the Pac-12? How do you feel about that happening in 2 years? And how do you feel about the fact that Memphis might join them in the process? What are your thoughts on that? A school that should be more SEC, Big 12, or ACC bound is potentially going to be Pac-12 bound. What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about it in general? Let me know down below in the comment section. You know, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel. You know, ring the bell for notifications. And guys, let me know what your thoughts are. You can check out all my content and where to find my merchandise. Links will be in the description. But let me know what your thoughts are on this. And until then, I am out.